Most people these days accept that mermaids are an enchanting myth symbolizing the power of nature over man, or a cautionary reminder that things are not always as they seem at first sight. Of course, there's also the old metaphor of women as seductresses, luring helpless men to their destruction with their devilishly feminine allure. But what if mermaids aren't just the stuff of storybooks and Hollywood tales? What if they were real and still out there? So, join us for today's video as we're going to explore top 15 mermaid legends that might actually be true. Number 15. The Mermaid of Zimbabwe Sets Dam Project. Construction crews at two separate dam projects in Zimbabwe back in 2012 suddenly refused to return to work. Their reason wasn't wages or working conditions. They claimed they were being attacked and stalked by mermaids. It wasn't just chatter from the villages. The issue escalated to Zimbabwe's House of Assembly, where top officials confirmed the reports and revealed that traditional healers were being brought in to calm the spirits. In Shona culture, these mermaids, known as Nuzu, are said to guard sacred pools and water sources. Locals describe them as beautiful, unpredictable, and capable of great blessings or terrible curses. The fear was so intense that even with government pressure, no one returned until ceremonies were performed. Once the rituals were complete, construction quietly resumed. No further trouble. Fear like that doesn't just spread through rumor. Not on a national infrastructure project. Something deep in those waters rattled grown men, enough to stop them cold until every spirit was appeased. Number 14. Christopher Columbus' Journal. When Christopher Columbus reached the Caribbean, he wasn't just logging new lands, he may have logged something unexplainable. In his 1493 journal, he noted seeing 3 sea creatures rise from the water, describing them as having human-like upper bodies and fish-like tails. His exact words, "They were not as beautiful as they are painted, for their faces somehow resembled men." Historians often brush it off as a manatee encounter, but there's a flaw in that theory. Columbus was an experienced navigator. He'd seen manatees before. Why describe their faces at all if it was just a sea cow? More curiously, others on his crew made similar reports. These weren't isolated hallucinations. They were consistent and recorded in one of the most famous exploration journals in history. Dismiss it as confusion if you want, but the fact remains that this wasn't some sailor's tale passed around over drinks. It was written down by the man who changed the world map and maybe saw something else entirely while doing it. Number 13. A Mermaid for $1 Million. Back in 2009, locals in the quiet seaside town of Kiryat Yam, Israel, began reporting something completely unbelievable: a real mermaid. Witnesses said she appeared at sunset, reclining on rocks before diving back into the sea. Dozens came forward with the same account. They said it was a pale-skinned female figure with a long fishtail and flowing dark hair. The reports became so frequent and so convincing that the town's officials did something no one anticipated. They put up a $1 million reward for anyone who could bring forward undeniable evidence. One man claimed she performed a backflip before disappearing. Another said her tail smacked the water as she vanished. The story spread worldwide. News crews arrived. Tourists flooded in. Yet no one managed to get solid proof. Still, the sightings never stopped. And here's the strange part: the reward is still active. To this day, no one has claimed it, and no hoaxer has come forward. Just more whispers, more watchers, and one of Israel's most persistent modern legends. Number 12. The Cave Mermaid of Greenland. An Icelandic dive team exploring an underwater cave near Greenland in the early 2010s caught something unsettling on video. The diver was filming inside a submerged passage when a humanoid figure with fins darted across the screen and vanished behind a rock. Just moments later, the diver could be heard gasping before the footage cut off. Though skeptics were quick to label it a hoax, the diver's seasoned professionals stood by what they saw. The footage made the rounds online but was mysteriously removed within days. According to those involved, the government restricted access to the cave shortly after the incident. Rumors began swirling that authorities had intervened because of what was captured. While the video was never officially authenticated, the reactions of the crew, the sudden media blackout, and the unexplained shutdown of the site all added fuel to the fire. For those who were there, it wasn't a blurry fish or underwater trick, it was something they couldn't identify and no one wanted to explain. Number 11. The Japanese Ningo. Japan's version of a mermaid isn't the beautiful ocean siren most would expect. Known as the Ningo, this creature blends human and fish features with a super disturbing twist, golden scales, razor-like claws, and a mouth resembling a monkey's, packed with small human-like teeth. According to old legends, eating its flesh could bring eternal life, but catching one was believed to bring catastrophe. In the 1800s, fishermen near Shikoku Island reportedly snared a creature that matched this exact description. It died shortly after and was preserved, then shown to a local official. Things took an eerie turn when reports claimed the remains were hidden away in a Buddhist temple to prevent misfortune. In 2022, scientists examined a preserved mermaid from a shrine. DNA testing revealed it was made from parts of various animals, but the detail in its construction showed someone clearly believed it was real. If it were all just a prank, why would anyone go through such lengths to keep it sealed away? Well, drop your theory below. Number 10. Hans Egodist, 1730 sea encounter. Way back in 1730, Hans Egede, who was basically a Danish-Norwegian missionary, recorded something strange during a voyage near Greenland. He described a creature that surfaced beside his boat with the head and torso of a man and the tail of a fish. According to Egede, the creature stared silently at the crew before sinking slowly beneath the waves. What makes this account so odd isn't just the sighting, it's who made it. Egede wasn't known for fantasy or exaggeration. His journals are typically dry and focused on missionary work among Inuit communities. Yet this entry was different. He even sketched the creature in later versions of his logbook. Historians still reference his account when discussing unexplained sea phenomena. Either Egede, a serious, devout man, imagined something wildly out of character, or he saw something real he couldn't explain. Something that didn't match any known marine animal, but still made its way into the pages of history, documented, witnessed, and never explained. Number 9. The Fiji Mermaid. Most people think of the Fiji Mermaid as a circus fake, an ugly taxidermy mashup of monkey and fish parts popularized in the 19th century. But what many don't realize is that stories of similar creatures go back much further. In the South Pacific, island fishermen have passed down tales for generations of glowing-eyed beings with silver fins that surface during storms. Some researchers believe that the original Fiji Mermaid shown by P.T. Barnum may have been modeled after something real. Other specimens resembling it were reportedly confiscated or destroyed by British colonizers trying to erase what they considered pagan beliefs. The most unsettling part? Descriptions from pre-colonial records align with the later exhibits. In 1978, a geologist claimed to have seen a preserved creature in a private collection that matched those early stories. No photos were taken, and the artifact vanished. But if that first specimen was based on something genuine, what exactly did those islanders first pull from the sea? Number 8. Seks. The Seks Mermaid from the Scottish Highlands is described as half beautiful woman and half salmon. Legend claims that if a sailor managed to capture a Seks, he would be granted 3 wishes. Like most siren tales, she was said to lure men to their deaths. If someone ended up on her bad side, the only way to kill her was to destroy her hidden soul vessel, essentially her version of a Horcrux. Just like Voldemort, she was believed to store her spirit in an object, usually a shell, and hide it to protect herself from death. If a sailor ever found true love with a Seks, she would transform into a full human and walk the land. In that case, instead of just 3 wishes, the man would be blessed with lifelong fortune. Several Highland families even claimed they descended from such unions between humans and mermaids. For them, the Seas Keys wasn't just a legend, it was the origin of their bloodline and the source of their family luck. Number 7. The 1967 British Columbia mermaid sighting. In 1967, a ferry captain off the coast of British Columbia saw something that left him speechless. He wasn't the only one. People aboard the vessel swear they saw a blonde-haired mermaid reclining on rocks near Main Island. Photographs were taken, and one even landed in a local newspaper. While some people dismissed it as a staged prank, others were convinced it was real. The town didn't shy away from the attention, they embraced it, selling mermaid-themed souvenirs and drawing curious tourists. Oddly, no one ever came forward to admit it was a hoax. No models, no performers, no actors, nothing. The image wasn't duplicated, the story wasn't retracted, and the mystery remained exactly that, a mystery. As time passed, the sighting became a part of local lore, tucked into the history of the region. Decades later, people still remember the day a crowd of ferry passengers looked out across the rocks and saw something none of them could explain. Number 6. The Scottish Blue Men of the Minch. Between Scotland's mainland and the Outer Hebrides lies the Minch. A stormy stretch of sea sailors have feared for generations. The reason? Well, a bizarre legend of the Blue Men, human-sized blue-skinned beings said to live beneath the waves. But these aren't whimsical mermaids. They're feared as storm-bringers, blamed for shipwrecks and sudden gales. According to centuries-old lore, they'd swim up to passing boats, shout poetic riddles at the captains, and if the reply didn't rhyme, they'd flip the boat. It sounds like pure folklore, but here's the catch. This same story, nearly word for word, has been passed down for hundreds of years with little to no variation. Sailors in that region have long reported freak waves, compass failures, and vanishings without explanation. To this day, some Scottish fishermen won't cross the Minch without tossing an offering overboard. Whether it's ancient superstition or an old fear rooted in real events, this legend hasn't faded, and for those who sail that stretch, it still feels all too real. Number 5. The Aquatic Ape Theory gets weird. This entry isn't just myth, it's an actual scientific theory. The aquatic ape hypothesis proposes that a branch of human ancestors may have adapted to life in water, developing traits like subcutaneous fat for insulation, voluntary breath control, and even partial webbing between the fingers and toes. Mainstream science mostly dismisses it, but the theory refuses to die. That's because communities in remote coastal areas from Indonesia to Mozambique continue to report sightings of humanoid beings with smooth, hairless bodies, wide-set eyes, and unnatural swimming speed. Their descriptions consistently include webbed hands and long limbs, features that strangely align with traits the hypothesis suggests. Some anthropologists are rethinking the idea, especially after divers found large human-like handprints deep inside submerged caves, places no human could access without advanced gear. The deeper they looked, the more the data started to hint at something plausible. Well, it's not proof of sexy and beautiful mermaids, but it may be proof we're not the only upright species that walked both land and sea. Number 4. Mami Wada. She is a revered African water goddess, often described as a nurturing spirit and guardian of all aquatic life. Her myth spread across the African continent and eventually took root in Caribbean cultures as well. Sightings of Mami Wada have been reported in rivers, lakes, and ocean shores. She's often seen adorned with a serpent wrapped around her shoulders. Depending on her mood, she can take the form of a woman, a fish, or a mermaid. Even today, fascination with Mami Wada continues. Her image is sold as statues and trinkets in markets and shops. A spiritual group devoted to her worship refers to each devotee as a Mami Wada child. They believe that Mami Wada is not one goddess, but a collective name for a wide pantheon of water spirits. Followers claim the goddess appears in dreams and calls them to spiritual purification. For many, she's not just a legend, but an ongoing presence that demands devotion and offers healing in return. Number 3. Joren. In Chinese folklore, the Joren were far more than just graceful mermaids. They were master artisans known for weaving a magical white fabric called dragon yarn, which was said to never absorb water. Another unique detail, their tears were believed to crystallize into pearls. One famous account from the Jin dynasty tells of a mermaid who emerged from the sea to trade dragon yarn with humans. If someone treated her kindly and gave her shelter, she would repay their hospitality by weeping into a container, filling it with precious pearls. Several aristocrats throughout history claimed to own garments made from this otherworldly material. Descriptions of the cloth were consistent, impossibly light, water-resistant, and so fine it shimmered under moonlight. The story of the Joren mixes beauty, generosity, and mystery, but also suggests that these beings weren't meant to be hunted or feared. Instead, those who met them with compassion were rewarded with something rarer than treasure, a glimpse of kindness from the deep. Number 2. The Finnfolk. In Scottish and Irish folklore, there's a mysterious sea-dwelling race known as the Finnfolk. They were said to live in an underwater realm called Finnfolkenheim. Every summer, they were believed to visit an island named Hildeland, which only appeared for a fleeting moment before vanishing, making it impossible for humans to locate. The Finnfolk were shapeshifters, capable of transforming from fully aquatic to fully human forms, or taking the appearance of traditional mermaids. Both Finnfolk men and women were considered extremely attractive, using their looks to lure humans into relationships. Once successful, they would drain their partner's youth, allowing the Finnfolk to remain immortal. If sailors vanished or people were abducted, it was often blamed on these beings, believed to be keeping humans as unwilling companions. However, when Finnfolk married their own kind, the Finn wife was cursed to disguise herself as an elderly woman and find work on land to collect silver. These women were often accused of witchcraft, another way society targeted the misunderstood and the isolated. Number 1. The Two-Tailed Siren. Ever wonder why Starbucks uses a two-tailed mermaid in its logo? The original design traces back to 7th century Italy, where it appeared among the floor mosaics of the Otranto Cathedral along the Mediterranean coast. That mermaid was shown alongside imagery from biblical stories, the Tree of Life, Egyptian sphinxes, and even Alexander the Great, intended to symbolize the blending of cultures, beliefs, and philosophies during the medieval era. Some scholars believe it was inspired by the legend of Melusine, a French water spirit said to shift between human form and a twin-tailed mermaid. Over time, artists continued replicating this siren design. Starbucks later stated they based their logo on a 16th century Norse woodcut showing the same image. Their goal was to make the brand feel as tempting and captivating as a mythical mermaid. It wasn't random, it was strategic. They didn't just want to sell coffee. They wanted it to pull people in the same way sailors couldn't resist the call of the siren song. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.